All right, I want to show you two things. One, how to use Quizlet, and two, the vocabulary for gravity. All right, so this Quizlet has some of the vocabulary for has the vocabulary that I want you to know for gravity, and it has a few more cards. So what I like to do is first just look through the cards. Let me go back to the beginning. All right, so I start at card 1, weight. Flip it over, and that's the measure of the pull of gravity on an object. I can also click on this picture to get it enlarged. The Earth, he weighs 100. On the moon, he weighs 16 and 6/10 because the moon's mass is 16 and 6/10 that of Earth. Since his distance is the same distance from each of it, he's the same distance from the moon as he was here from Earth. The gravity of the moon basically is 16 and 6/10% that of Earth. So his weight would be 16 and 6/10 that of what he was on Earth. Next card, mass. I use the word mass. What does it mean? Measure of the amount of matter something contains. So how much matter is in something? When that guy went from Earth to the moon, he still had the same amount of matter, so his mass did not change. But his weight did, because the amount of gravity, weight is how much gravity is pulling on him. I think of this. I've used a shot put, and I've thrown a softball. A softball is the same shape as a shot put, only maybe a tiny bit larger, but its weight here on Earth is a lot less than that of a shot put because a shot put has so much mass. There's so many particles jammed into an iron shot put compared to how many particles are jammed into a softball. Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton is the person that is given the credit for coming up with the theory of gravity. What is the definition of gravity? A force that pulls objects towards each other. Greater the mass. This card I'm not the most excited about. Greater the mass. The more mass an object has, the greater the gravitational pull. Okay, I weigh more than you do here on Earth because I have more mass, so there's more gravitational pull between me and the Earth than there is between you and the Earth. Less mass, smaller the gravitational pull. Like I said, you have less mass than me, you have less gravitational pull towards the Earth, you weigh less. Greater the distance between two objects. Now, distance is another thing that has to do with gravity. The greater the distance, the less gravitational pull, the weaker the gravitational pull. Closer the distance between the two objects, the greater the gravitational pull. And finally, gravity always. What does gravity always do? It pulls towards the center of an object. So no matter where you are on Earth, gravity is going to pull it towards its center. So if you're at the South Pole, it still pulls you towards the center of the Earth. Or if you're here in Wisconsin, it's pulling you towards the center of the Earth. And then that's basically down to the ground. You can do it as flashcards. And when I click that, it does take a little bit of time. But it becomes a nice big flashcard. And you could practice. A force that pulls objects towards each other. Gravity. Correct. Next card. Smaller the gravitational pull. It's either going to be the less mass or the larger distance, further distance away. It was the less mass one. Measurement of the amount of matter something contains. That would be its mass. Click to see if I'm right. Measure of the pull of gravity on an object. That's its weight. Gravity theory guy. That's Sir Isaac Newton. Isaac Newton. The stronger the gravitational pull. That's either the greater the mass or the closer of the objects are to each other. Closer distance between the two objects. Greater the gravitational pull. That's either greater the mass or closer to the objects. Greater the mass. One thing I wanted to say back there about closer to the distance. I think of it this way. The sun has a lot more mass than the earth, but I get pulled to the center of the earth because I'm so much closer. If I was in between the middle of the moon and between the moon and the earth, or the sun and the earth, the sun's gravitational pull would pull me greater than the sun's, or the earth's, sorry. The weaker the gravitational pull, that's either the further the distance between the objects or the lesser the mass, greater the distance between the two objects. Pulls towards the center of an object. Gravity always does that. And then I finished it. If I go back here, you can do learn. And it gives me multiple choice. A force that pulls objects towards each other. That would be gravity. Greater the gravitational pull. See, here's where this does kind of have a problem. Greater the gravitational pull, the greater the mass, and the closer it is between the two objects. But only one of them is probably going to be right because it's looking for the exact match. Because it doesn't know the content of them, it just knows what matches. The greater the gravitational pull, I'm going to say the closer distance. And nope, it went with the greater the mass. All right, so that's kind of a tough thing about this. The weaker the gravitational pull, okay, not the greater the distance. No, the greater distance between two objects. That's true. And the less mass. It's both of these, but I'm going to see which one they have. I'm just going to click this one, and it happened to be that one. All right, so that's how you do learn. But don't freak out if you're technically right, but it doesn't go with it. Right is some good practice for some of you that want to work on your keying. It also is very helpful for remembering things. The stronger the gravitational pull. Okay, this is the double one. I'm going to just go with the greater the mass. I said the greater the mass, and they wanted the closer the distance between the two objects. My answer's right, but see, it says I was wrong. Measure of the pull of gravity on an object, that's weight. And it didn't say anything, so it must think I'm right. Smaller, oh, it does have it correct. Smaller the gravitational pull. I'm going to say further apart. And it's probably going to make me wrong. The less mass. Though even though my answer was correct, it's still not going to take it because it wanted the exact answer. The weaker the gravitational pull, I'm going to put the further apart. And they see the further apart, I don't have the exact same words they wanted. Greater the distance between the two objects. So I still got it wrong, even though my answer means the same. So I'm not going to freak out about it because it's just for studying and getting to know the meaning of the words anyway. Test. I don't know. I might have went on spell. Nope. Gravity theory guy. So that's Isaac Newton. Force that pulls objects towards each other is gravity. The stronger the gravitational pull, okay? And I don't have these memorized. I'm going to go with the greater the mass. Matching. Now I can go with this. Weight is A. Mass is the measurement amount, so it's B. So I'm going to click here. Weight is A. Mass is B. Multiple choice questions. Greater the gravitational pull. Now look at this. Greater the gravitational pull, greater the mass. That's true. Closer distance between the objects. That's true. Less mass isn't greater. So it's these two are both right, but it only lets me pick one. So I'm going to have to guess which one they really want. Pulls towards the center of an object. That's, I remember, is the gravity always, but gravity would be right. But I remember that card. True or false? The weaker the gravitational pull, the greater distance between the two objects. That's true. Smaller the gravitational pull, the less mass. That's true. Let's check our answers. So, Isaac Newton was right. Gravity was right. So, the stronger the gravitational pull, the greater the mass. And I went with the close. Oh, I said the greater mass, but they wanted closer the distance between the two objects. Even though I'm right, it's marked wrong. No big deal. Matching, I had those. Here we go. I guessed the wrong one. They wanted the distance, not the mass. And the others were correct. All right. So that's that. Again, I don't care if it marks me wrong as long as I know the content. Then there's a couple games. Match. What Match wants me to do is drag corresponding items onto each other to make them disappear. It's kind of like if I had cards laying in front of me and I match the ones, only they actually disappear. Again, you got to get them exactly right. Even though you're right, it may not work. So I'm going to start the game. Smaller the gravitational pull. So the smaller the gravitational pull, I know is either going to be closer distance between the two objects or less mass. So it's one of those two. Can't remember which one, so I'm going to go there. It wasn't, so it's this one. And see how they disappeared. Gravity theory guy is Isaac Newton. The stronger the gravitational pull, that's either greater the mass or closer to the objects. So I'm going to go with the closer distance between the two objects, and it was right. Gravity is a force that pulls objects towards each other. Mass is the measure is, mass is the weaker the gravitational pull, the greater distance between the two, measure of the amount of matter something has. That's mass. And the weaker the gravitational pull, the greater the distance between the two objects. And there we go. So that's the match game. If you want, oops, I don't know why I did that. If you want a super tough challenge, you can play Gravity, play this game, but you have to type things in exactly what they want. So I would select easy to start, and as you get better, maybe harder. Answer with terms, so I have less I have to type. Let's go. Watch out for the red asteroids. If you miss a term twice, they will destroy your planet. So the stronger the gravitational pull, it should be greater the mass. Nope, it was shorter the distance. And I don't even know the exact word, so I'd still get it wrong anyway. Close to the distance between two objects. I know that. That's what I just said. Greater the gravitational. I don't know what it wants me to do. Oh, maybe copy it. I'm not sure what it's asking me to do here, to be honest with you. So the gravity theory guy is Isaac Newton. And see how it disappeared? So that's how you do this game. Again, that's pretty tough. You have to really work hard at it.